We're almost done, guys. We're almost done with this trash fire of a year. 2020 is almost over. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Good evening. I hope you're all feeling fine tonight. You might have noticed there's a little counter over there saying when New Year's going to take place, or at least over here. So I come from the future, if you didn't know. I come like 5 or 6 hours, depending on where you live in the United States or Canada. And yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be... Going to do a bunch of variety stuff tonight. Going to play a whole bunch of random NES games, retro roulette. But before we do that, I want to do something that I guess would be a nice way to kind of cap off the end of the year by discussing my favourite and least favourite games of the year. Also, you might notice that the splash here says top 10 worst games. It's actually top 8 because I couldn't find enough games to fill the last 2, so... Yeah, it's going to be top 8 worst games, but there is top 10 best games of 2020. So we'll start with the bad ones, and we'll end on a positive note, because, you know, we need a little bit of positivity in the life after what happens this past 365 days. So yeah, let me get some music on. I'm going to play some music from Sonic and the Secret Rings, so you'll be hearing some of that soundtrack during this segment. Sonic and the Secret Rings has a pretty good soundtrack. The game sucks, but the music's good. But yeah, let me just get this set up. So how's everyone doing tonight? Doing alright? Hopefully you're doing fine. Right, so here we go. Top 8, not top 10, top 8 worst games of 2020. This will just be a slideshow presentation. I'm just going to discuss... Like, this isn't scripted, there's no talking points, I haven't written down anything. This is just me giving my off-the-cuff thoughts on these games, but I did come up with the list earlier today, after a little bit of thinking on it. Also, this first pick is going to be a bit of a controversial pick, because it's not really a bad game, but I couldn't put it in my top 10 best games, so I'm putting this at the very bottom of my worst games list. So, number 8... Yeah, again, this is a bit of a controversial pick. The Wonderful 101. I really wanted to like this game. I backed it on Kickstarter. I got my game, and I had to pay... This doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but this was part of the negativity, I guess. I had to pay extra money due to like how they shipped it. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically there was like tax on top of, you know, the game that I ordered through Kickstarter. So that was fun. But on top of that, I could not get into this game at all. Like, I streamed it, what, 3 or 4 times, and it's not terrible, but the combat system was not what I was expecting, and it was kind of in a bad way, really. Like, it didn't feel like... See, I was kind of expecting... This was a game by Platinum, by the way, so I was expecting more like Bayonetta, like that sort of thing. Didn't really do it for me. I wasn't really enjoying this, so I just kind of stopped streaming it. I just silently stopped like playing this. Maybe I'll give it another shot someday, but it didn't really jive with me, so this is number 8. Number 7, Battletoads 2020. I only streamed this game once. Again, it's technically not a bad game, but it didn't really do it for me, and I didn't really have the drive to like revisit this one. Maybe it gets better, but I heard it was like a very short game, and like it does like a billion things, but it does none of them well. So yeah, this one I don't really have much to say about, other than I played it once, I never really got back into it. Again, some of these games you could argue are good, or like decent, or like, you know, but these are like my personal worst picks. Now this one's interesting. I know this is an old game, but technically this game released on the Switch this year, so I'm going to count it as new. Prinny, Can I Really Be the Hero? Number 6. Why is this on the list? Because I love platformers, and I played this, and it has some good mechanics. I really liked how some of the ideas were in it. Like, the way you like attack the bosses in this game, and like the way you do combat is pretty good. The thing that kind of ruins it for me is how extremely difficult it gets. Like, it was a little bit too... I guess you could say it's like the Dark Souls of platformers, but it was something that put me off, and the unlockable DLC content that was included with it, most of it was fine, but then you had these couple levels that really made me pull at my fucking hair. It was like ridiculously hard. and it was not worth the effort of like spending several extra hours looking for all those little penguin things to unlock. So yeah, that one annoyed me a little bit. Number 5, Super Mash. This game had potential. I don't know if anyone remembers me streaming this. I streamed it like once, way earlier this year, I think like back in March. It's basically a game where you randomly generate 2 genres, and it comes out with like a new game with a mashup of those 2 genres. Cool idea, but it didn't feel like it was a fully realised concept, and that kind of left me a little bit disappointed. Like, after like just an hour with the game, I was noticing a lot of the same things were repeating, a lot of the things didn't really make sense, some of the games were like completely either broken or like very, like way too easy. It didn't really work that well. If they ever do another Super Mash game like Super Mash 2, hopefully they can like change this up and actually improve upon the flaws that the first one had. I don't know if the developers ever intend to make a sequel to Super Mash. So yeah, this one, again, tons of potential, but it kind of felt like a bit of a letdown. Because this was one of the games I had my eye on, and it didn't really pan out. Right, next one. Panzer Dragoon Remake. This one really disappointed me. Like, technically it was like a faithful recreation of Panzer Dragoon, but I'd never played Panzer Dragoon before, and the reason I put this on my worst games list was because I had this expectation of it being like as good as Star Fox, because a lot of people say, oh, it's kind of like it's an on-rails flying shooter like Star Fox. And a lot of people that grew up with like Sega Saturn like put this game on a pedestal. But then I played the remake, and I just didn't really see it. Like, I didn't really see what was so special about this. I don't know. This one didn't really do it for me. And the really annoying thing is, I played this game day one, this remake, but like a couple months after I had played it, they released an update that made the game run much smoother. It runs at 60 frames per second now, but obviously I'm not going to go back and play that again. So it kind of makes me feel like they should have maybe delayed the game just to like at least do that so it would look a bit better, because it was a bit choppy on launch. It was running at 30 FPS, but sometimes it kind of dipped below that. Also, it's a very, 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 very short game. It only lasts, I don't know, like an hour or something. I mean, technically Star Fox 64, for example, is also like a game that doesn't take more than an hour, but that game's got replay value. Like, you can replay it to like do all the side objectives, you can do all the different paths, and you also had like the option of like getting the medals for every planet to like fully complete it. So yeah, this one, I just didn't really see what was so special about it. Right, top 3 now. Here's really controversial picks, because these ones I didn't understand at all. And you guys saw me stream these at some point. This next one, Fall Guys. I kind of, like, I was watching Pro Jared's, like, top 10 worst games of the year, and he put this one at number 2, I think. And his reason for it was he didn't get it, like he didn't understand why this game was so popular. I kind of feel like I'm with him on that one. Like, I played this a lot, and the reason I played this a lot was because it was on PlayStation Plus, therefore I had this game for free, so there was no reason not to play it. And then it has some cool ideas, it's like kind of fun at first, but then it gets insanely frustrating, and it's like one of the games that I got extremely salty at this year, both on and off the stream, by the way. And then it has like that Battle Pass style live service thing where it's like, oh, you've got to play this for 50 hours so you can unlock everything before it goes away. FOMO, FOMO, FOMO. Like that kind of thing. I didn't even bother finishing the Season 2 Battle Pass, and I haven't even touched Season 3, which I think launched in the middle of December. Like, by that point I was just over it, so yeah. Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. This one, I mean, again, don't get me wrong, it's fun at times, but it wasn't really a game I would put up on my best games list, so I put this fairly high on my worst games list. Like, the problem with new seasons is that it doesn't really do enough new things. It's like, oh, we'll add like 1 or 2 new areas, but it doesn't really properly change it up. But yeah. Right, now we're getting into the really bad ones. Number 2, Ninja Law! Remember this fucking game? Remember this game that was supposed to be like I forgot the name of the developer, like their answer to like Splatoon or something for the Switch. And then they did the beta, and the beta fucking didn't work. And then the full game came out. I played the single player, which I had to pay for separately, because like the multiplayer's free to play, but the single player thing was like, you know, you had to pay for it separately, and it was like a little campaign thing with like missions that barely felt like there was any like cohesive structure to it. I didn't really get this one myself. Like, I tried to get into this, but after like 1 or 2 streams of the full game, I just really didn't understand this one. Which is unfortunate, because I can tell this game was highly polished. Like, visually, it looks on par with like Splatoon or like some of Nintendo's first-party efforts. But I really wasn't able to like get into this one. It didn't jive with me, unfortunately. I'm sure there's like some people who still play this game, but I don't know what the player base is like nowadays. Like, is it still in the thousands, or is it like less now? Probably less, because it's been out for about half a year at this point. But yeah, this one didn't really do it for me, sadly. Now, this number 1 pick, like, before I put together my list, I had to go through all my VODs to figure out, okay, what games did I play this year? Because I've got a shit memory, and sometimes I forget what I played in the past, like, 12 months. This game came out 3 months ago, this next one, and I completely fucking forgot it came out 3 months ago because it came in when, and this is my number 1 worst game pick. I don't know why it says number 2 there. I think I forgot to make that say number 1. So just pretend that says number 1, Kirby Fighters 2. So yeah, why did I put this on the top of the list? Because as far as like Kirby spin-offs go, this one was not worth the $20 whatsoever. This was the only game I played this year where I felt a serious case of buyer's remorse. And usually that's like something even worse than like a mediocre game. So yeah, this game, like, it was basically an expansion to a Kirby fighter game that was on the 3DS, but it didn't really do much for me. It just felt like a far less polished Smash Bros, to be honest. And the quote-unquote single-player mode didn't really do anything for me either. You're probably noticing I'm saying didn't really do it for me a lot. I'm a man of many words, I know. But yeah, this game was kind of trash for $10, for $20. Even at $10, I would say that would maybe be pushing it. I mean, I'd be a bit more forgiving if it was $10 as opposed to $20, but it is not worth the third of a price of like a full AAA game, to be honest. I don't feel there was enough content or like gameplay to kind of warrant that, so yeah. Pretty unfortunate. Hopefully next year we get like a proper like mainline Kirby game, because there's been rumours that we're going to get one of those, and I'm hoping that will be the case. So yeah, Kirby Fighters will never see a 3. Yeah, I pretty much don't think we will see that. You know what the sad thing about Kirby Fighters 2 is? It uses the same engine as Star Allies, but they actually managed to get the game to run at 60 frames per second, unlike that game. So that's like the only positive I can say about this game. Like, it actually runs smoother than Star Allies, and you know I like Star Allies, but yeah, this game, that aside, was kind of trash. So yeah, that's my top 8 worst games. Gonna change the music now, because we're now gonna move on to my top 10 best games of 2020. I'm not sure how long this is gonna go on for, because I've got a lot of things to say about some of these games. Now, this one might surprise you because it's like very, very low on the list, but I feel like I should at least put this in my top 10 for the year, because technically speaking, this is a fantastic game. Why is it so low on the list though? This game didn't really, there's those magic words again, didn't really do it for me, but with the distinction of it being, it's not bad, but I didn't really like it as much as the original Doom 2016, despite the improvements and the new stuff to it. It's a myriad of reasons why I didn't like this one as much. I should add those 2 words at the end, as much, because it's not that I hate this game, I do actually enjoy it, but I didn't enjoy it enough to actually finish it on stream. I kind of got about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through before I kind of gave up. So yeah, I kind of felt a bit middling on that. I think the main reason that I was a bit put off on this one was because of the dramatic increase in difficulty compared to the previous one. Like, the previous one was challenging, but this game was like 3 or 4 times more difficult. And that was a bit of a piece of shit, kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? I was stubborn, and I didn't want to lower the difficulty from the default. I was like, no, I'm going to keep the difficulty the way it is, because that's what I did in Doom 2016. And I just found myself struggling to get through every level. Like, fairly early in the game, I found myself dying a lot. Also, one thing about the game that I didn't really understand was, like, the extra life system, because sometimes you would find like 2 or 3 extra lives, and then I'd get to one part where I end up losing every single life and then maybe end up dying for real. And then I have to like respawn without any lives afterwards, and then I'd be like, yeah, well, what was the point in that? Like, what was the point in those extra lives if I have to like respawn without any of them? So yeah. There is good things to like about it. Like, I'm talking about the reasons why it's low on the list. Why do I like this game though? It feels more of the same, but they add like a lot of new mechanics. Like, you've got the hook shotgun, or hook shotgun if you will. That was a really fun mechanic. Like, you've got the air dashing. You've got a lot of like really cool little side things that you can unlock. Like, there's a skill tree. They do a whole lot of stuff that actually makes this game much better than the original Doom. But in terms of the overall package, I was a little bit let down by this one, which is why I kind of put it low on the list. But I feel like it'd be a disservice to like not put this in my top 10 at the very least, so I actually did put that in the list. So yeah, that's why it was very low on the list. So this one's a bit of a surprise. Number 9, Clubhouse Games. The reason this is even on the list is because this was the year, you know, of COVID and the pandemic, and this was one of the few games Nintendo put out during the peak of the pandemic when everyone was stuck indoors. And this was a fun little game to play. Well, it lasted. Like, I haven't played it in months, but this was a very nice like compilation of like classic board, card, various like games that you can enjoy with people. And the online multiplayer didn't actually suck. Well, there was times where it lagged a lot, but for the most part I was able to get some online matches working with it. Which I guess when everybody was stuck indoors back in like March, May, whatever month this came out, I think it was like May. I guess that was something cool that people could actually like play this for a little bit. I want to play some Yat Dice now. Like, I kind of feel like in the mood for Yat Dice now that I'm talking about Clubhouse Games. But yeah, Clubhouse Games was a nice little compilation of like classic games, but with that Nintendo polish to it. Number 8, Shantae and the 7 Sirens. This was more of the same. Like, I didn't feel like it did that much more than the Pirate's Curse, which is my favourite Shantae game of all time. That said, it's still a pretty solid entry. Here's the thing about the Shantae series. There isn't a single bad game in the series. Like, every single game is great. But yeah, this game didn't feel like it did that much more than Pirate's Curse, which I still say is my favourite Shantae game, like I said. But yeah, overall I had a good time with this one. It was a nice platformer, and you know I like platformers, so yeah, this is a number 8. Number 7, Streets of Rage 4. This was a nice game to have this year. See, I'm not a massive like beat-em-up or Streets of Rage fan, but I did grow up with the first game on Sega Genesis when I was a wee youngin'. And Streets of Rage 4 basically sets out to be like, you know, the next like sequel to a long dormant series that I heard had some really bad games in like the PlayStation 2 kind of like generation. So yeah, it was nice to see like a new entry in like a really old franchise and actually live up to the original games, and it was a lot of fun. I played this game on the Xbox Game Pass, but I have since got the game physically on Switch. Like, I like the game that much. Number 6, moving out. This was a really fun little indie game. Basically, think, what's that game, cooking thingy? I forgot what you call it. The multiplayer game where you like cooking food. Think that game, except you've got the task of like moving packages and boxes out of a house into the truck as quickly as possible. It sounds weird, but it's a lot of fun. Like, I really enjoyed this one. You can play this one cooperatively, but not online, I don't think. I just played this one solo, but I still had a good time with it. If anyone remembers the name of that cooking game, let me know, because I forgot what it was called. Number 5, Dreams. this was a pretty good game. Technically, this game's been out for over a year, but it left the early access and got a physical release this year, back in February, and that's when I started playing it. But yeah, Dreams was a lot of fun. It was made by Media. Somebody has to tell me the name of this because I am shit at remembering. Mediatronic. The guys that did Little Big Planet. But yeah, Dreams is basically you create your own shit, and you can see other people's like creations. And I didn't even get around to checking the creation toolset because I was kind of like daunted by the idea of making my own stuff with this, because it's not like Mario Maker where you put blocks down. Like you can make Media Molecule, thank you. But yeah, I didn't get around to making anything, but I had a lot of fun browsing through everybody else's creations. I need to get back to playing this game again, because like checking out everyone else's creations is like the real fun for me. The only reason this game may have been a little bit higher on the list, but then Nintendo had to be pieces of shit and be like, you know what, we're gonna tell Media Molecule to... We're gonna twist their arms and tell them, look, we don't want people making Mario fan games through this. Please delete all those Mario fan games, please. Okay, thanks, bye. So yeah, maybe it would have been a little bit higher on the list, but I don't really think that's Media Molecule's fault so much as it's Nintendo's fault. God, Nintendo's been a piece of shit this year, despite the games they've released, haven't they? Which pains me to say, because I love Nintendo, but you know, they've been doing a lot of dumb shit, and that was like one of the earlier things they did this year. Number 4, Trials of Mana. So this is a remake of the third game in the Mana series, Senkin Densetsu. Probably said that wrong. And I tried playing, before this, I played that Trials of Mana collection, Secret of Mana collection, like the first 2 games. And Secret of Mana on SNES didn't really do it for me, because I played that and I wasn't really enjoying it. Like, that game's kind of aged a bit. So I was waiting for the remake of Trials of Mana and not playing, like, you know, the SNES version on that collection. And I'm glad that I did, because this is a really good, like, action RPG. And it's not a super long game either, which is perfect for me, because I find it difficult to commit to a game that's like 50, 60, 70, 80 hours long. This game is more like 20 to 30 hours long, which was perfect for streaming through. And I had a lot of fun with it. Like, it's very corny. Like, some of the voice acting is, like, really cheesy, really bad. But it's, like, the good kind of bad. It's the kind that you can, like, laugh along with. Like, it's really fucking good. Like, Charlotte, for example, like, the one that does that, like, uwu voice. Like, the Trials of Mana. That one. So I think everybody saw this one coming. Animal Crossing is number 3. Again, mostly to do with the fact that this game came out at the perfect time. Like, this was at the very start of, like, the whole lockdown when everybody was just indoors. And I probably wouldn't have gotten as much mileage out of this if it hadn't been for that, to be honest. Like, I played a fuck ton of this between the end of March, during April, during May, and I guess during June as well. I think, like, around June is where I started burning out a little bit. But by then, like, the lockdown restrictions started lifting a bit, so it kind of like did me really well, just lasting me over that time. But yeah, it's both a blessing and a curse to have this game released during a pandemic, because as a result of playing it for so much, I kind of completely burned out of the game. Like, I haven't revisited that much since the pandemic. Yeah, well, still technically we're in a pandemic, but you know what I mean? Like, the lockdown... Oh, by the way, Scotland's in lockdown again for the next couple weeks, so that's going to be fun. But yeah, Animal Crossing New Horizons, it was like the first Animal Crossing game that I really got into since the GameCube original. Like, I couldn't really get into the 3DS one. I tried getting into the DS one as well, and neither of those ones I couldn't really get into as much as the GameCube one. So if nothing else, this game, for better or worse, got me into it for a bit. But I don't know if I'll revisit it next year. I think I'm done with it for now. The only like criticism I've got with it is when the game first came out, it kind of felt like an early access game because it was lacking a lot of the features that were in the previous ones, and they had to like retroactively add them in the months to come. So that was a little bit annoying. Like the stuff where you could like swim into the water, where you can do like the dream villages and stuff, like all that stuff was not there at launch. So that was like the main criticism I had with it. Also the lack of like quick crafting for some reason. Like, that's still not there. Where you can, like when you craft stuff, you have to craft it one at a time. And that got a little bit annoying after a while when you had to craft, like, 50 billion of the same thing. I don't know why they didn't, like, add that in. Like, they still haven't... Despite the game getting, like, 20 updates since launch, they still haven't added that feature, so... I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't played it lately, but I'm pretty sure it's still not there. But yeah, that aside, really, really good game. This was a nice surprise for me this year. Number 2, Superliminal. What is Superliminal? Basically think Portal, except instead of, like, using, like, space... Instead of, like, using puzzles revolving around jumping in and out of certain spots in a map, this one's more about, like, thinking about, like, perspective, like, literally think about perspective to, like, solve the puzzles. And it's got a lot of really funny moments in it, and it's actually a really good game. It's a very short game, by the way, it's like 2 hours long, but it feels like a complete experience, like, it's short and sweet. And it left me wanting more, admittedly, but it was a good game while it lasted, and I don't regret playing this one. So yeah, this was a nice surprise. I had my eye on this one for like a couple years, and I'm glad that it came out. And I wonder if the devs are going to make like another game like this, or like something with a similar idea, because I would like to see more stuff like this. Right, before we get to number 1, a couple quick honourable mentions. I'll go through these really quickly and why they're on honourable mentions and not in the top 10. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Why is this not in the top 10? Because I didn't play enough of it. I got sick for a month, and I don't think I did play a little bit of it when I came back from my sickness, but I don't think I played enough of it to make the call if I should put this in my top 10. I think I only streamed it like 4 or 5 times so far, and I think everybody else that played this game has already finished it. So yeah, pretty good game though, very good Warriors game, and it's got a lot of cool ideas in it, but yeah, I didn't feel confident putting this in my top 10. Same reason for this one, like this game just came out like a week ago, like just over a week ago, 23rd. But I like what I played of it so far, and it seems like it's got a lot of replayability to it because you can have procedurally generated levels, and I think I mentioned this during my stream of it, like it feels like if the level has like a cohesive design to it. Let me put some more music on, hang on, the music playlist finished. I'll just put this one back on. But yeah, I quite like this one, but I only played it like once. Same reason again for this one, Hypnospace Outlaw, only played it once. I wanted to play this more, but here's the thing that happened with this game. I streamed it on my Xbox One through Game Pass, but I didn't know at the time that it was also on PC Game Pass, which I've got like Game Pass Ultimate, so I can play games from Game Pass PC and Game Pass Xbox. But this game is more suited to PC, like you have to play it with the mouse and keyboard. Playing it with the controller isn't as fun. And what I wanted to do was carry my save over from the Xbox One version over to the PC version. At the time I played this, that was not even a thing. Like, apparently you could do it, but it didn't work. And I don't know when they updated it, but like, I checked like a couple weeks ago, and now you can transfer your save to the PC version. So I'm going to revisit this game next year. I didn't play enough of it to like say that I could put it in my top 10 games of the year. But yeah, that's the reason why I didn't play more of it this year. I wish I knew that the game was on PC right away, so I could just like play it that way, because it really is better with mouse and keyboard in that case. Mortal Kombat Aftermath. This one, I played this full thing. It was like an expansion to the main story of Mortal Kombat 11. And it was alright. It was fine. I had a fun time with it. But not top 10 material, I would say. Wasn't really enough there. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team Deluxe. I didn't play enough of this one. I streamed like 2 or 3 times of this. And I think the reason I didn't pick up on it again was because last year I played Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, so I think I was still feeling a bit of burnout from like Mystery Dungeon games. Which is a shame, because I've heard this game has a pretty good story, and apparently it's got a good ending as well. So maybe someday I'll come back to this one, but I'm not really feeling it right now, so I didn't really play more of this than I did. Speaking of Pokemon Sword Expansion Pass, this was actually a pretty good thing to get this year. because I think this is better than having, you know how like the Pokemon Company sometimes does stuff like special versions, or they do Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, or like Black and White 2. I think this is a better substitute than that, to be honest, because it's like cheaper than like a full retail game, but it gives you a lot more content on top of what was already there. And the Isle of Armor was alright. Like, a lot of people didn't like it. I didn't hate it. I think it was alright for what it was. But the Crown Tundra, from what I've played so far, was really good. I really enjoyed that, and I think I got my money's worth out of it, even though I've not finished it yet. I think I'm almost done with the Crown Tundra, like 1 or 2 more streams of it still. But yeah, the expansion pass was pretty decent, but not top 10 material. Right, so that's all of my... that's my honourable mentions. Can anybody guess what my number 1 is? I'm sure some people can already figure that one out. I'll give you till the end of this song. You've got another 20 seconds, I think. See if you can figure out what my number 10 is. Bug Fables. Good guess. Happy New Year. Yeah, it'll be New Year over here soon, in about 45 minutes. Just under that, yeah. Let's see, let me just... I'm just going to turn the music off for now, we don't need any more music. Right, okay then, so my number 1 pick, and this is going to surprise a lot of people, and this is like the perfect sort of thing for 2020, in the year where a lot of weird shit has happened. And I never expected this to be my number 1, but I gave it a lot of thought, and to be honest, this game made me, like, really happy, in a sense. Like, it's weird to say that, but my number 1 is Paper Mario: The Origami King. Like, this game... I feel weird saying that, but this is how I feel, like, after much thinking it over. Why did I like this game? It feels like the first real Paper Mario game in a really long time where they actually wanted to do something right by the fans, which is weird because it's not like the return to form that I wanted. But something about it really gelled with me, and I had a lot of fun streaming this game this year. And I know that MSP said Bug Fables. Technically, I started playing that game last year. I know that came out on Switch this year, but I played it like since last October, I think. October 2019. So I couldn't really put that in my top 10 games of 2020. Even though a certain blue cookie monster on YouTube did that to kind of spite this game, but that's beside the point. This game, like, really made me smile, as weird as that said. Like, for context, I love the original trilogy. Like, I love Paper Mario 64. I really love The 1000-Year Door. That's my favourite game. And while I didn't like Super Paper Mario as much, I still love it a lot. Like, I still think that game has a lot of merit to it, like, in terms of, like, story and stuff. Mainly the story, the gameplay not so much, but I can get past that to really enjoy the story in that one. But then nothing happened for a long time, and then we got like a new Paper Mario game on the 3DS Sticker Star, and that just went in the complete opposite direction of what made Paper Mario great to begin with, and I really fucking... I tried to get into that game, I couldn't. I really fucking couldn't. Like, that game made me quit after like 2 hours. Then I played Color Splash, which was on the Wii U. Again, tried to get into it. I got a little bit further in that game. I think I got about maybe 40-50% of the way through. And the writing in that game is fantastic. But again, the gameplay at its core really didn't gel with me. I really didn't fucking like it, so I just stopped playing it after a while and I just gave up. And then this game came out, and yeah, this game isn't the return to form like I said. But you know what? I really like this gameplay. I really like what they did with this one. Like, they went for a turn-based system, but they did like something different, but it wasn't annoying. Like, I kind of like the puzzle element of like organizing, like sorting everything through the battle wheel to like put everything in place. And it really made you think. Like, sometimes it made you like try to think, okay, how is this supposed to go together? And I know some people were not going to like that, but for me, I actually enjoyed that combat system, and there was like, if you didn't like it that much, there was like little things you could do to like make it easier as well. The boss fights were fantastic, that's true. Yeah, the boss fights were great. The music was great. The presentation was great. The visuals were great. Also, Nintendo revealed this game like 2 months before it came out, And that trailer really hooked me because I liked the tone and the setting it was going for, because it was like different from the previous couple games. And in a sense, it's got partners, but not really. But it kind of had like a partner system in place, sort of, maybe a little bit. Not exactly, but it was a little something at least. And it had some good characters in it. Olivia was great. Bobby was great. A lot of really good characters. As cheesy as this sounds, I think this game's got a lot of heart. And I think this game feels like a step in the right direction for the series. I hope Nintendo continues. Not Nintendo, really, Intelligent Systems, the developers. I hope they continue going down this path and trying to, work on this, try to improve it, try to. I mean, if they want to like add some new ideas or like reinvent it, then sure. But try to continue going along this path. And I think that I'd be looking forward to the next Paper Mario as well. I think I'd be fine with games that are more like this. I'd also be down for like, a proper return to form like the Thousand Year Door 2 kind of shit, but I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon with the way Nintendo's kind of like controlling intelligent systems with like the development of these games. But that aside, this was the game that made me smile the most this year, and I really enjoyed myself playing it, so that's why this is my number one game, where most people would strongly disagree with me, but that's okay, that's opinions. Opinions are fun. Right, so that is my top 10 best games and top 10 worst games. So I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling for a while. I've been streaming for 46 minutes. Holy shit, I didn't realize I was going to spend that long, running off my mouth about games that I liked and didn't like. Is it bad that you never played any Paper Mario game to this day? If you want a good one to start, I would recommend the Thousand Year Door, but the Nintendo 64 one's also really good. But yeah, I would say Thousand Year Door, maybe a good entry point, since that's like the best one, and like it's got a lot of really cool ideas in it. But the new one is good as well. Like I would also recommend Origami King if you don't mind, paying the full $60 for it, since it's still a brand new game that's only been out for a few months. But yeah, that's my full list of games. Hope nobody finds my picks too controversial. I'm kind of glad that I don't have any following on YouTube or Twitch, because if I had like, 10,000 followers or something, I'm sure a lot of people would be really pissed off at my picks, especially Origami King. Like I think that's going to be. I guess you could argue Origami King being number one is also a controversial pick, because not everybody likes this game. I mean, I know Arlo doesn't like this game. Like, I saw his. I didn't see his review, but I've seen him like make jabs at this game at every opportunity they can get. But yeah, I can kind of understand why some people didn't like this game as much. But this game did something right for me that Color Splash and Sticker Star failed to do, and I can't quite articulate what that is. But I think it's like a culmination of things, really. But yeah, that's my whole list. I'm going to stop rambling now so we can move on to some video games. So yeah.